the occasion we're dropping a few people off, and please email in, let us know, and we'll get you back on the list if we missed you. But with the services that Streamline, our web host, provides, it allows us to manage emails, so folks can enter that they want to be from our website, that they want to be on the email list. So this is a huge step up from what we've been able to do. So again, thank you for your patience, and continue to do that. Also, as always, a reminder: make sure that you've signed in. See Carrie, or she will find you if you're a board member. So we have 2 items on the consent calendar this morning: the meeting agenda and our board meeting minutes from last month, from August. So any comments, questions on the consent calendar? All right, so I think Chris had one first, and then we'll go.
I'll take, you can take it first.
Okay.
Turn the mic on top.
Sorry. We're voting on section 5.02, article 5. I don't know what it looks like.
It's in.
So that's under the new, that's under new business.
Thank you.
All right, consent calendar items. I think Chris, you had something.
Yeah, on the minutes, and I already gave it to Carrie. I found some typos, and I thought that it was significant, or that wasn't too significant, but I thought it was important just to make sure it was correct.
No, I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Any other comments on the consent calendar? Right, all those in favor of approving the consent calendar items as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Right, consent calendar approved as presented. Okay, so next up, item 5, proposed policy addition. And again, this goes to the e-board's been doing a lot of work working on bringing up policies and bylaws and other things. Some things we kind of haven't been paying as close attention to in the last couple of years as we had wanted to. But again, folks have been really engaging to try to get our policies and procedures and bylaws consistent now with what we've been doing. And so huge, again, thank you for that. So all of the proposed policy edition 23, Associate Fire Safe Council boundaries, that all should have been included, that was included in the board packet, so you should have all had a chance to see that. I'll turn it over to Angel and see if you have any additional thoughts on that.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you've had the opportunity to read the new article, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay.
David and or Chris, not sure there.
So
David Cotton.
And then Dave, if you put the microphone a little closer to us.
So Pete, I guess you and I did that procedure when we changed the boundaries to possible power subjects, right?
Yes, we did.
Very good. And then Chris gave me a copy of the Article 23 that we're discussing, but under it says Article 5, Section 5.02. I don't think I have a copy.
It's under 5A, Proposed Policy Addition, Article 23, Associate Fire Safe Council boundaries.
That one I've got, though, where it says Article 5, Section 5.02. That's different, isn't it?
In the agenda.
The difference.
Yeah, we'll do that in a minute.
Yeah, the
Well,
difference.
will we get a copy of it?
No, you can see here's Elizabeth's application if you like go fast.
That's the reason why. Thank you.
Question from Allison Lester.
Hi, yes, this is Alice. Let's see, I think we're talking now about the new boundaries for the Associate Fire Safety.
That's correct. Article 23, Associate Fire Safe Council boundary.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I did have a question. I think, let's see, I have a problem with the thing about requiring new fire safe councils to include orphans. I think that it's important that we let volunteers, we're talking about volunteers here, and I'm thinking back to our situation when we started ours. We spent a lot of time figuring out where exactly we wanted our boundaries. We had lots of different reasons for it. Lots of volunteers were involved. And if at that time we'd been told, no, you have to take this big section over here, I don't think that's the right approach that the overall arching fire safe council should be taken. I know that from a a point of view from the leadership, it's much easier to be able to just say, yeah, you take this, you take that, and fill in all the holes. But I don't think from a volunteer point of view that that's helpful to allowing them to have some local control and figuring out exactly what works for their area. We have some tiny fire safe councils, like for Texas Hill, for example, and it makes sense there. We have some other giant ones. Coloma, Bob Hess is loving his big ones, but I don't think we should be forcing volunteers, maybe suggesting it or encouraging them, but not requiring them to take on areas that they don't want to.
Thank you for your comments, Alice. As the secretary of the Fire Safe Council for the last 15 months, I have not forced anybody to take any additional space. I have requested that they do so in trying to develop community. In addition to that, I'm not necessarily talking about big spaces, but if there are gaps between two fire safe councils, yes, I will recommend that they accept those areas. But I don't see any word in the article that said force. So that's not my intention, nor do I believe it's the e-board or the board of directors.
I think the wording needs to reflect that.
You want to look at the wording? Yes.
Are you under section 23.01 new council formation?
That's where she is.
Yeah, I'm looking at section 23.02, the next section down, Angel, and in the second paragraph, the proposed boundaries that the proposed boundaries shall consider appropriate community inclusion, existing neighbor, associate fire safe council boundaries shall not leave orphan areas between fire safe council boundaries and shall not split any individual parcel boundary.
Yeah, that's just,
Yeah, so I think it sounds like it's the shall not leave.
yeah.
So what the board of directors has to decide is, do they want it to say shall not or something else?
Yes, thank you. I couldn't find my audio for a while.
Did you have a proposed recommendation, Alice? Sorry.
We have some. Tamara's got some.
If it says should not, that's suggestive rather than shall not, which is prescriptive. That's an easy change.
I like that too.
Any other thoughts, comments? Alice, would that address your concern?
Yes, I'm sorry. Could you repeat the wording?
Replacing the word shall with should. So should is suggestive and the shall is.
I think that's still too strong. I wish it would say something more like, consider not leaving orphan areas or something like that.
Okay.
David, another question?
Sorry. Alice, in my negotiations, I just went through with Angel and Whopper. They did encourage certain things, but I was able to push back. And so we took care of some things, but it was a cooperative. I think Tamara's wording of should not is good in that we should consider those blank areas, should consider them, but not be forced to. So those areas where a community buy-in and involvement and cooperation, and they already acted like they wanted to be involved, then I accepted those areas. In those areas that couldn't make a phone call to me, I did not take it. So I felt it was a good process. I felt that the word, I think the word should, as proposed by Tamara, is something that means we should consider it, but we're not going to be forced to take an inactive area that increases our burdens without bringing any assets to it. So I think we'll be okay with should. So I support Tamara's suggestion or even proposal.
Any other comments or discussion on the proposed policy? Okay, with that, probably need to restate the motion before us. Yeah. probably.
So I move that we replace the word shall in the resolution, or what is it a resolution? Replace the word shall in resolution with the word should. Everywhere that shall shows up.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a first and a second on the proposed policy boundary policy. Without any additional comment, well, we have an additional comment.
I don't know if this is in order at this point. Having made the motion or anything, but structure of the sentence is such that you're going to consider appropriate community inclusion, existing AFC boundaries. And then it says shall not leave, that's not really grammatically consistent. If we just say consider orphan areas. And wouldn't have to say should or shall or anything. Well, the three things you're considering are appropriate community inclusion, existing boundaries, and orphan areas. Just eliminate the shall not be consider part of the same sentence. That's your motion. Go ahead. Submit your motion.
Okay, I'll amend my motion to remove, so in section 23.01, we'll remove the words shall not leave in front of orphan areas. And in section 23.02, the same thing, remove the words shall not leave before orphan areas. I think that's it, right?
So can you reread what you're proposing?
Yes,
Sounds
so
like
section, so I would propose that section 23.01, the second sentence reads, the proposed boundary shall consider appropriate community inclusion, existing neighbor AFC boundaries, and orphan areas between AFC boundaries, and shall not split any individual parcel boundary. Section 23.02 will say, should say, in the second sentence, the proposed boundary shall consider appropriate community inclusion, existing neighbor AFC boundaries, and orphan areas between AFC boundaries, and shall not split any individual parcel boundary.
I'll second it.
Do we have additional comment?
Retracted my questions. Mr. Chairman.
If in fact everyone agrees that our fire safety council is not going to be obligated to take on these orphan areas for whatever reason, if we agree, then we should just state that literally in the document. That, you know, that it's up to a fire safety council to make the final decision.
Typically, that's not the way they write these.
Well,
That's a great idea.
well, if also, I think that's where we're dancing on though. If in fact, you know, is it gonna be up to the fire safety council to do that, or is Big Brother gonna make a decision?
Well,
And you can shake your head in that, but ultimately there are, and I think Alice pointed out, there's reasons why our fire safety councils are sized the way they are. And
totally agree.
so I think we have to take that in, we have to respect that.
No, well, first of all, I do respect that. And where this is coming from is it was a perfect example was Sandridge, Hawkins Fairplay, Grizzly Flats. When we were all working hard to doing exactly what we're talking about, we ended up having 2 or 3 parcels that were sort of in this gray area that nobody gathered, right? Or there's maybe a few more than that. At the end of the day, we all had to work together to figure out who, they couldn't be a fire safe council on their own, they weren't big enough, so we had left some parcels out. And so it was really this process of trying to clean up these areas that will never be able to become a fire safe council because they're too small and they were sort of left off the process by nobody's fault. I like the language that you brought forward. All it's saying is that you'll consider it. There's no way, shape, or form does it say here that Big Brother is going to tell you you're going to be a fire safe council, what your boundaries are. It's just asking when you're forming or updating your boundaries that you will consider including others if that's appropriate, do it. At the end of the day, here's how it works. No fire safe council either new or updated boundaries ever happened without coming before this board for final approval. As you recall, we're going to wrap up all of the changes periodically, whether it's quarterly, and you all have a chance to weigh in on what those boundary changes are. So this isn't Big Brother telling you to do anything. It's Angel and the team doing a lot of hard work to try to help bring this together so you have something to vote on and look at.
But again, if you say it won't happen, then we should literally state it won't happen. That's my only point, because things change. You're not going to be in the positions you're in today way down the road. Things are going to change. So
All right, thank you.
Dorothy. Thank you. Camino was involved with Placerville, and actually, we had a whole pie slice that was from, part of Placerville area down to the American River. So as we went through our process of changing our boundaries, we took in the pie slice. We communicated with Placerville. There was no Big Brother in the whole thing. And it was working with OWOPR and the mapping in there, be able to, and then we realized, gee, we've got a parcel split over in Georgetown. There was a parcel split, parcels over in Mosquito. So we cleaned up the whole area, closed it all in. Now everything's taken care of, but nobody influenced us. And when David said this one area, even though it was suggested, Placerville needs to take this area, one certain area. And he said, no, that really isn't working because of, and all of his reasons. It was all accepted. We all walked away happy and we cleaned everything up. So it really was, we were in control the whole time, in communication, while they were redrawing and drawing as we had our discussion right there in a team Zoom. So there was no pressure.
So we have a group. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
I just wanted to say that the sensitivity that I'm, as a board member, that I hear by the comments that have been made, that sensitivity is in place. That's why we meet on a monthly basis, to be able to get the feedback, to get the understanding of how people are feeling. I'm the biggest advocate for making sure that changes that we pursue are done in a very practical way. But I also know from my governmental experience of over 40 years, local government, El Dorado County, that sometimes it's the administrative record that actually captures everything. What I mean by administrative record, this meeting is part of our action. And so it's going to be put into our minutes, and also it's going to be something that we can rely on later, including our president, rely on whether he's president or not. The administrative record will be in place. I just want to make sure that everybody understands that.
David?
And in terms of the bylaw language with Tamara's change to should from shall, it does mean we will consider those things, but we are not forced to do anything.
We've changed it.
Yeah, we're not doing should, we're even reducing it further to consider.
It says, think, you did it.
Shall consider, all right.
Let's go, we need to reread,
Yeah.
because there's, again, there appears to be some
She's gonna do
confusion
that.
as to what the amended motion was.
Well, and when I read this, the first sentence says, during formation, Yeah, during formation of a new fire safe council, the applicant and secretary will work together to determine a proposed boundary. So that language to me doesn't speak of big brother, it says cooperation. And then the second paragraph says the fire safe council will submit their draft map of their boundary to the secretary, and then when approved by the board of directors. So there's an opportunity for discussion at the board when this is approved about boundaries. So I'm not seeing in here anything that says who has the final say. Sounds to me like the fire safe council is the one who's submitting it to the board, and then the board has to approve it. So, which is all of us. I mean, so it's not the e-board, it's the board. So I personally think the language is very open. The fire safe council having agency in this process.
All right, so if we just reread your motion on the table again, Tamara, just for clarification, so everybody understands the change.
Okay, so I propose that in section 23.01, the second sentence will read, the proposed boundary shall consider appropriate community inclusion, existing neighbor AFSC boundaries, orphan areas between AFSC boundaries, and shall not split any individual parcel boundary. In section 23.02, the third sentence will say the proposed boundary shall consider appropriate community inclusion, existing neighbor AFSC boundaries, and orphan areas between AFSC boundaries, comma, and shall not split any individual parcel boundary.
I think we have that motion on the table. I believe it was seconded by David. I'd like to go ahead and put that to a vote. All those in favor of approving Article 23, Associate Fire Safety Council boundaries with the amendments proposed by Tamara, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those in opposition signify by saying aye. Or no, excuse me. Yeah, sorry.
Just say aye.
I want to make sure we're clear, because obviously this is important if folks want to be on the record.
Can we have a hand? Can I call for a hand vote? I think it'd be, please.
Yeah, it's hard when we have it online, so we'll do that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I apologize.
So why don't we do this? I have not heard any opposition, but let me just confirm. Any opposition proposed policy 23 with the amendments, with the changes presented by Tamara? Raise your hand or signify by saying no. Okay, I'm not seeing or hearing anyone in the room, and I am not seeing any opposition online. I'm looking over it. Jessica, she's not either. So the proposed policy passes.
Good job at the committee.
Thank you. Yeah. And I just want to say, this has not been an easy process. As we've been going forward, Angel spends a lot of time with all of you trying to help navigate all of this. And with the whole idea being, we're trying to make sure we're not leaving anybody behind in our communities. And Honda has done a ton of work meeting with so many of you to try to help navigate that and bridge that and provide that support. OWOPR is just trying to build the maps that we're requesting for them. And so there's just a lot of dialogue goes on into all of it. And everybody's phones are wide open every day, anytime we talk about it, we have issues with this. It is truly about making sure we're not leaving anybody behind and helping everyone through. So thank you. All right, item 5B, new director, Elizabeth Sandridge. And again, it's my reminder that every associate fire safety council has an opportunity for our bylaws to have a member on the board of directors, and not all councils have that. So I just, again, remind everyone if that's something that the council is interested in, please consider that. The process is simple, bringing it forward for inclusion and for the full board as we're doing today. So with that, I'll turn that back over to Angel.
Well, today I have for you a board of director application from Elizabeth, and it is complete, filled out properly and signed. And so I would like to ask for a motion to approve Elizabeth for a board of director.
I move.
Cameron, you have a question?
No,
Oh, sorry. Okay, so the motion was by who?
It was by,
Thank you, may I have a second? Okay. Chris, have a question, comment?
because we just went through, a month or so ago, our board of directors elections. And because I know that there's an alternating, relationship here. When you add a new board of director, in this case, we are, how does that fit in terms of what's their term, meaning on an alternating basis? I just want to know,
Good question.
okay,
My understanding from the bylaws is that they would be interim board of directors with voting rights, and that at the next election, they would be put into that group.
okay. No, I just wanted to make sure that was clarity,
That's what I understand.
and I accept that. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving Elizabeth Stanton as member of the board of directors signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Aye. Elizabeth, sit down. Engaged and stuff going on right now, and we realized that she wasn't a board of director, and so thank you. Excited and that. Okay, next up, we have no old business. So item 7, executive board reports. Just a quick comment from me as the chair. Again, I already commented on really trying to work on a lot of improvements and changes, and sometimes changes can be, I think, challenging for all of us. And even as the team is working really hard to improve business practices, I think there's just a lot more to do as we grow as an organization. And so appreciate all the work that they're doing to bring that along. As we talked about here and you all approved last year was the ability for the e-board to hire an executive coordinator. And as you know, we did that late last year, early this year. We learned a lot in the process. And I think it was even identified as we were presenting it to the board during the meeting, what the breadth of duties that executive coordinator had. And I think we all recognized there was a lot there. And as we went through, we had an executive coordinator for a bit. It didn't work out. But I think in the process, we learned a lot about what are the most important things, what are the key things that an executive coordinator needs to be working on within that scope of duties that we had identified. And we know every day, Janet's not our biggest weakness, but the finance part of our organization really is, like it is with any organization. And if it wasn't for Janet, our boat would be sinking. And so but we're recognizing there with audits now every year, with sometimes $400,000 to $500,000 in invoices being processed every month because of all the work that you're all working on out there. There's a lot to do, and so we're currently sort of retooling how we want to look at supporting the business fiscal side of the organization. We've been working at Tamara's suggestion. A vendor that is just helping us do a quick assessment of our fiscal business process to see where the weak points are, what kinds of things, how can we be more efficient. So a matter of fact, Janet was just in contact with that person again today. They're kind of looking at that bumper to bumper piece. From that, there may be some opportunities to have some of our fiscal pieces continuing to be handled through contract services. And then if that's the case, then we can maybe free up some of the responsibilities within the executive coordinator duty statement to really maybe move more towards that fire safe council engagement outreach and then overall managing our day-to-day business practices and operation. So it's a work in process, but I really thought it was important to kind of give you an update to where we're at. Again, this is new for all of us as an organization, and as we're growing and we want to do it right. So we're not rushing into hiring another executive coordinator. We really know we want to retool that duty statement and make it work with the assurance that, because we won't have Janet forever either, is we want to make sure we have a solid business process and the ability to get all of that done going forward. So anyway, just a quick update with that, and with that, I will move on to the vice chair report.
Speaking of new, still the website committee, which consists of Paul Gilchrist, Jessica, and myself, are continuing to look for a data management company. And in the process of our vetting companies, we're looking just to make sure that everybody understands why we're even doing this. Is that we're trying to move away from all the manual work that's being done to an automated system so that it's more efficient. We also want to make sure that, and when we're talking data management, that's starting out with our 3 programs, which would be chipping, defensible space, and hazardous tree. So to have those built out by another company so that most of the work is automated, if not all work. We need to get a geospatial mapping piece that's put in there for grants, and also so that we can collaborate with our outside agencies. And we're looking for a company that also will provide us with room for expansion, and hoping to bring summary and recommendations to this board soon. We've been working on this vetting companies for quite a while, months now, actually. So we're hoping on that. As for the website now, our current website, El Dorado County Fire Safe Council. Remember, for those of you that haven't set up and we call for the associate councils, we may call it a website, but it's really a web page that's linked onto the website, but it can look like a website, if that makes sense. Often those terms are interchangeable. Anyway, Streamline, if you're just starting out, contact Streamline. There's been some confusion there. They will help you build out your associate council website, how you want it to look, okay? Not go back and you guys, associate council, do the work. No, Streamlines to do the work. If anybody has any issues, please just contact the vice chair, which is me, and I will help you work through some of the issues. All you need to do is put in a work ticket, which is at the bottom right-hand corner of the home page where it says powered by, and sign in, tag that, and it puts you right, and you can fill out a work ticket saying you want to get your website designed out. For small additions, edits, posting maybe of an event, something like that, that information can go directly to Carrie. She's only doing small edits and add-ons. She's not doing the build-out work. That's what we're paying Streamline to be able to go ahead and do. And we're also currently working on our PDFs needing to be ADA compliant. So that's another challenge that we've got going on, always technology. But any questions? Thank you. I'm glad there's no questions.
It's be done. Jill, Secretary report.
Currently we have no new councils. Next month, I will be bringing up boundary changes once more for the board of directors to approve. I have 2 last fire safe councils that I'm working with to fine tune their boundaries. So I'll have that completed for next month. The maps are on the OWOPR online mapping tool, so you can see them and you can look at them there. Brown bags. I have been asked by a couple of people to give some sort of advance notice of brown bags. The executive board's intention is to have a brown bag session at every meeting. Sometimes we don't know exactly what the topic will be, but if you'll be flexible with us, I'm sure it will be something that you will truly enjoy. If you have a topic that you're interested in, please let me know. I know David sent me one recently, so thank you, David. And that'll do it.
I got a question. First of all, you do a great job. And I just want to make sure that everybody understands that we love you dearly for all that you do. But No, now listen. I'm a board member, you're a board member, we have to act the part, okay, and that's what I'm trying to do here. There's been some discussion about Lake Oaks Mobile Home Park. In terms of currently it's part of the Patterson Ranch Fire Safe Council. There's been multiple meetings, you and I chatted last month about meetings going on, some of which I haven't been in attendance. Has there been any formal action taken by Lake Oaks with you in terms of the what we call it, governance and new council formation responsibility? Can you tell me if there has been any formal?
There's no new councils, including me.
And that's my basis of my question. Thank you.
Yeah.
I gotta learn how to turn this on. Yeah, you too, Chris, yeah. Someday I'll figure it out. No, Chris, and I did mention to you last meeting, but, I know Mike Logan, who, you know, he and I stay in touch because he was in the fire service. But what I believe they decided to do is they are gonna continue to be part of Patterson Ranch. And they're just gonna form their own Firewise community within Patterson Ranch.
And I believe you heard me last month say to you, I support that completely. And I believe that other neighborhoods also appropriately should consider that rather than trying to form their own fire safe council.
Any other comments?
That's it.
Nope, there's no more.
All right.
Morning, everyone. In your board packet is the treasurer's report. So you can see on the front page is the Fire Safe Council operations. As I mentioned last month, I kind of reformatted this page. The top shows the amount of fiscal sponsor fees that we have received, and in August, we received $18,974 in fiscal sponsor fees. Our monthly expenditures are detailed below, and in the current month, we had $14,366 in Fire Safe Council proper expenditures. As a result, for the month, we actually have an increase in our bottom line of $4,000. Any question on the Fire Safe Council page? Hearing none, moving to the grants page. This is the grants from the treasurer's perspective, and Tamara will talk about them from her perspective during her report. There's a lot of work going on in the grant world right now. The Stevens Authority grant identified by 20CA has closed out. So next month we should see that the final expenditures reported on this report. The Stevens Authority 22CA will close out next month. The RCD has completed all of their work and will be submitting a final invoice. BLM Georgetown closed out in September, so you will see that grant will be completed in next month's report. And I think it's Marshall Road has completed in September. So there's been a lot of closeout work that has occurred in grants, which has taken a significant amount of my time to make sure that they're all reconciled and that our books match their books, so that when we go to audit, everything is wonderful and good, because I don't want to leave it for anybody else. Other than that, everything here, and the other one that will close out is the PG&E grant for Oak Hill. So I have submitted those reports to Lester and Tamara to finalize that. With that, any questions on the grant page? Okay, hearing none.
Okay, again, no further questions on the treasurer's report as presented by Janet. All those in favor of approving the treasurer's report as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Treasurer's report approved as presented.
Thank you all for your review of that. Just a reminder that Umpqua Bank merged with Columbia Bank.
Yes.
And you should all have received a notice from them. If you didn't receive a notice from them, your chair and treasurer received a notice from me. Just reminding you, they're not saying, they made it clear that you don't have to change your checks right now. You don't have to, we talked about stamps and other things. They have not indicated that we need to move everything away from the Umpqua name right now. I'm sure over time, when you order your new checks, please order it with the Columbia Bank's name. And
Thank you, Jeff. Now we're on to agency partner reports. Bring up here from BLM. Okay, so I do see Jeff. Good morning, Jeff. High fire.
Again, Jim Fogg, Cal Fire. Don't really have a ton to report actually this month. Just a couple little things. I'll touch on that at the end here. So we did get a transfer for a battalion chief into our risk reduction program here. We got it's going to be Chief Brian Cooley. He'll be taking over my previous position as the unit fire planner. So we're excited to get him into the space here in the next couple of weeks. And also we're bringing on one additional defensible space inspector here beginning of October as well. Continue to work on our BMPs, doing either having our folks out there doing the broadcast burns, those types of things, as well as developing new BMPs. We're looking at some areas that are kind of high target values that we identified in our unit fire plan. We are in the middle of our grant review process. We received a total of 17 grants in the unit. So as we work through that, they're going to do the end of next week where we'll do our final feedback on that back to region. And then on that comment there, yay, about been pretty quiet. As Ken had mentioned earlier, we are expecting a little bit of weather coming in this weekend, some lightning, or actually end of the week here, some lightning. So we have done some upstaffing with that anticipated weather event that's coming for the end of the week. Are there any questions? Very good. Thank you much.
Thank you, Jeff. Right, talk yet. Office of Wildfire Preparedness and Resilience.
Oh, Tanya, will you please stand at the round black thing there, please?
I'm just looking at the back of everything.
Thank you.
You can't say no to you.
No, Good morning, Tanya Harlow from Office of Fairness and Resilience. I have a pretty short report today too. Our defensible space inspectors are going out there and getting a lot done in the Hanks area. They're closing up a lot of the Gilmore inspection area that they have been working on for a while. So we are moving along. In the next month or so, we'll be starting inspection areas up in Garden Valley and Georgetown. So we'll be expecting to be doing some outreach up there for that. We had a meeting in El Dorado Hills a few weeks ago with the El Dorado Hills Fire Safe Council. So all of the El Dorado Hills Fire Safe Councils, along with some HOA members, just to clear up some questions about the ordinance and requirements and differences between them. So that was a really good opportunity to just make sure everybody was on the same page and to answer any questions that came from that area. Public outreach is we are just moving along with all of the public outreach things. One of the, I can't see anybody from OES here, but they gave a really great report on the test that they did, the emergency alert test that they did. We got a lot of really good information, but as far as public outreach, what we got out of it was that in the, I think it was 5 days, maybe it was 3 days, of really intense pushing out that the alert was going to happen. So there was like 5 days of all of the agencies pushing out that like, hey, the alert's going to happen. Sign up if you haven't already. Within those 5 days, they had 1,000 people sign up. So that really just showed us that if there is an intense effort to get a message out, it is effective.
So we are, really focusing on what messages we need to get out and work like that. So there are some plans for some more emergency alerts, not the actual alert, but some information. Last brown bag, there was a lot of questions about saving the phone number. So we are going to be working on, the public outreach group will be working with OES to make sure that we are getting good information out regarding that. We also are going to develop, as a group, develop a list of speakers for the fire safe councils to use. So that when you are having your meetings and you want a topic, you can go to a list and see, who is like a good vetted speaker or who you should reach out to. If you want certain districts or departments or whatever to come, who that contact would be. So we'd like to provide that for Fire Safe Council. And Firewise is also going along. We're getting a lot of new communities and renewals are coming up. So my goal is to reach out to each Firewise community individually and let them know what is due for that community coming up in the next couple of months. So you should be hearing from me if you are a Firewise community pretty soon. And lastly, Weber Creek, Jenny hosted a meeting for the homes. I know I've talked about this a lot, that there are 75 homes that are no issue parcels, meaning that once FEMA approves, those homes can get work done on them. And so we had a meeting with the homeowners of those 75 homes, but it wasn't all 75 there. But anyway, so we started that meeting. So it was a really good, productive. People are already signing up, turning in applications. So I think that's it. Any questions?
They want to start online. We have a question from Al.
Okay.
Yeah, hi. Actually, it's Lester. And for Tanya, question, we're one of the fire safe councils that Oak Hill is that needs to redo our assessment. And you had given me the template. When you talked about contacting individual fire safe councils, is there something we need to be doing with OWOPR?
No, I just wanted to, if you are aware that you have, I just want to make sure everybody's aware of what they have to do. So you know that you need to do your risk assessment. That's good. We'll just hear from me anyway, just saying, hey, just a reminder, this is what's due. And here's the due date for your renewal.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Chris?
As you know, I've told you that I go to the Board of Supervisors meetings on a regular basis for the Taxpayers Association. And while I'm there, I hear a lot of discussions about different topics that are more community oriented. And most recently, it comes down to OWOPR and their involvement, obviously as a county division of the CAO's office. But the question really comes to all of these discussions about projects, developments that the county has said officially that is, they don't have any discretionary involvement. It's more ministerial. And that means that essentially if there's properties that are in a community that are vacant or going to be reused, you can come in with a mixed use 3-story, 4-story apartment complex in a place that you don't believe that it's necessary because the law currently is leaning towards allowing those developments for housing. So OWOPR, in my mind, might be receiving some of the community's concerns. And I was just wondering if you are receiving the county's or the community's concerns about different developments and whether they're appropriate to a particular area. That's a simple question, but I had to give the context.
Yeah, no, we have not been receiving questions regarding uses of parcels or land developments. All of our questions are regarding hazardous vegetation and complaints, and also fire safe council questions, Firewise questions.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Give him a microphone.
Oh, good.
Towards you.
Good morning, Ernie Laurie, Grizzly Flat Fire Safe Council. I've got a couple of questions. Number one is, what is the status of the CWPP at the present time?
Okay, so this is awkward.
Tom, why don't you just step up front? I think it makes more sense. The camera can read the call. Or not.
Here I am. So again, first, at the same as we were last report, we do have the document almost done. We are still waiting from some mapping corrections from the consultant. Again, we don't want to put out a document that is not 100% accurate. And so when we did the public input workshops and Fire Safe Council workshops, there was some stuff in there that Fire Safe Councils primarily were able to find that were inaccurate. So we want to get those fixed. We are still waiting for some data, GIS, communications, but we are already, starting to look at the document and implement it through the project coordination group.
Okay, the second question then. There are certain situations in which there's a private residence and a vacant lot right next to it, and the resident home is the 100 feet is going into the vacant property. And numerous calls to your office as well as code enforcement to try to get something partially done on that vacant property. And the answer was, oh, it's being sold. It's a realtor handling it. How long can this really keep on going with the vegetation continuing to grow for several years and causing a hazardous condition and still say, oh, it's trying to be sold? Is there any way to change that so that the realtor, the realtor says that stated that, well, when the property's sold, then the property will be cleaned up of hazardous vegetation. But that could be years, 10, 15 years. Is this appropriate?
Yes, so that's how we will inspect a we don't stop inspecting a property because it's on the market. There is a real estate inspection that needs to be completed, but have you contacted our office and that's the answer you've gotten? Was that?
The individual said he's contacted your office 5 or 6 times and he was disconnected multiple times.
Yeah, that I don't believe that to be accurate, but I would love to get the information about who that is, and I will do some follow-up on that. But just to clarify what the ordinance says, if there is a good neighbor issue with that vacant parcel, we will follow up on that. We are doing inspections on every complaint that is filed. We are doing regular inspections, and we are working with property owners, vacant lots or residential property owners, to make sure that they are coming into compliance. We do not disconnect with anybody. So I would love to get the information and I will do some follow-up on who that is.
Any other questions? Anya, thank you. Okay, I'm just checking the room. I don't think we have Chief Cordero or representative from the Fire Chiefs Association today. So next up, I do see Krishana Fields. Krishana, will you be representing the fire prevention officers?
Good morning, Ken. The fire prevention officers meeting is actually next week on Thursday. We met in August. Our primary focus was on the fire code adoption. So all of our regional agencies are working through the adoption of the California Fire Code, which is expected by the end of the year. So if any of our agencies have questions or any of the group has questions for the individual agencies, all of their drafts are out. Most of the departments have had their first reading already. El Dorado Hills' first reading is Thursday, tomorrow. The other conversation we had was about mapping the water systems within our service areas of El Dorado County. So that's a program that's being taken on by the El Dorado Water Agency. So we're trying to work on what that's going to look like. So how we're identifying water sources, how we are identifying them as available. So that process, at least a committee is being developed for that process. But that was the gist of the meeting last month, unless there's any questions for the FPO group.
Any questions for Tashana? All right, thank you. All right, I don't see Brad Stewart or a representative from the El Dorado National Forest. I do see Courtney from the RCD. Good morning, Courtney.
Morning, Courtney Jackson with the RCD. I have some updates for the projects we're working on. In the Captor project, in our expansion, we've got a meeting scheduled tomorrow to work with the Fire Safe Council and to identify the expansion area. So hopefully we will have a new map and be able to continue forward with that project. We had a pre-ops meeting yesterday morning for the hazardous tree removal along Highway 50 and the cabin tracks, and expect the contractor to present a schedule for operations by the end of the week. In the Coloma Lotus fuel reduction project, we have identified expansion units. And we have, I think we're at the end of our deadline to collect the additional right of entry agreements, and we will be moving forward with the ARC survey and any other applicable inspections to begin the work there. And in the South County Fuel Reduction Project, we have identified the expansion units there, are flagging those. There is work continuing with the shaded fuel breaks in Omo Ranch, and the operations on roadside fuel reduction along Pleasant Valley Road are complete. Spanish Flat, we have operations going on in several different units right now. And as you just heard, our Stevens Authority grant is wrapping up. All of those either are wrapped up or doing finishing work on. And in the mosquito EFRT, we've finished the spraying, and we're awaiting a schedule for tree removal. In Auburn Lake Trails for the North Shaded Fuel Break project, we have a public meeting tomorrow that will be presented between the ALT Fire Safe Council and RCD. We also are collecting right of entry agreements for the first part of a CAL FIRE vegetation maintenance project, and that's in the Big Cut Weber Creek Canyon area. And fun stuff, the Watershed Education Summit will be going on next week, and that's from Wednesday to Friday. So that's a 4-day event in the Ice House area, Union Valley Reservoir, where high school students come and to learn about water quality monitoring, and we have a lot of educational experiences for them. And then last but not least, we are helping the Occidental Arts and Ecology and Connected Ecology install 2 beaver levelers, or otherwise known as beaver deceivers, in El Dorado Hills, which is really fun. So this allows for human and beaver coexistence. A lot of people don't appreciate the beavers in their area because they cut down a lot of trees to make their dams, and there's flooding issues. And with the beaver deceiver, the water level remains the same. So it's a fun project, and it helps the health of wildlife and the area. And if there's any questions.
Okay, thank you.
I think we have a whole presentation coming, Courtney.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Rooky's right. We need a brown bag on.
Oh, we have. All right, I don't see. Karen Brown from, we do have. Are doing double triple duty like everyone does, so we will circle back to Mike. I don't believe we have Sheriff's Office OES with us.
Hey, Ken, I'm here.
Hi. You have a floor.
There he is.
Right on. I had a hard time hearing you there. Hey, good morning, everybody on the Fire Safe Council. Mike Webb, Public Safety Specialist with PG&E. I just really wanted to make a good shout out and thank you to Ken and Tanya, the RCD, and all of you that jumped in and helped us prepare a pretty solid grant submittal for PG&E to the California Energy Commission for a SERI grant for $20 million for El Dorado County. The grant would be, we should hear back on the results of that application. I'm thinking by November, they said a couple of months. So I look forward to reporting back to this group on the status of that grant. The only other thing that I wanted to mention to this group is actually a couple of things. One, for all the work that you see going on around the county, whether it's overhead hardening, undergrounding, and utility improvements, you can track and see all of that work in real time, work that's actually going on right now, and then planned work. If you go to the progress maps on the PG&E website, they are very interactive now and very robust. They've improved significantly in the last year. So I'd encourage all of you to go see what's either going on in your neighborhood or what you could expect coming. And then lastly, just a reminder to everyone, we're getting into that fall, what I would call true fire season for our area. The El Dorado County has experienced its largest and most damaging wildfires in September. With that being said, PG&E, as we get into those, 1% high risk fire days, there may be opportunities when we get into that north and east wind type weather pattern that PSPS might be a consideration for our area. So I just consider everyone to make sure you're prepared, like everybody in this room is, and to spread the word or hit me up if you need any outreach or more information. So end of report, Ken. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Any questions for Mike?
I do.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mike, this is Hugh. Hey, can you get me, or maybe I need the contact information if you have it for the manufacturer of the product that PG&E is using to wrap your poles with. I'd like to talk to them. I think there's some real possible uses of that material. I'd like to get them hooked up with the state fire marshal and maybe they can get that approved for some other uses.
Yeah, I'll look into that. My good friend and retired Fire Chief Rob Cohn was a big part of developing the wrapped pole concept, and it's changed over the years, but we're still using it in high fire risk areas. So I'll get that information for you. No problem.
Great, thank you, Mike.
All right. Thank you. All right, lastly, Bureau of Reclamation. I don't know if it's relevant. Yeah, saw a DOI phone, so I suspected that might be you. Good morning.
John Hutchings. I'm Bella Guerrero. Be here. I am the Regional Wildland Fire Coordinator for the Bureau of Reclamation. Haven't attended this council meeting in a long time, so a lot of new faces. But just wanted to share a few updates about projects that we have going on in the county. We currently have the Growlersburg Conservation Camp working Auburn Lake Trails Shaded Fuel Break project. They're doing a little bit of enhancement work following our contractor completed work 24. So they're working along the southeast portion of the project between Highway 193 and Sweetwater Trail there in the El Dorado Auburn Lake Trails community. We also have goats that are grazing the northern section of the Cool Pilot Hill shaded fuel break. That's as you come in Highway 49 from Placer County. They're working right at this right off Highway 49 towards the fire station. So they should be there for a few weeks in this month doing some grazing. And then we have the California Conservation Corps doing a little bit of fuels reduction work on the Lake Hills shaded fuel break in El Dorado Hills. But at the moment, that is all I have. I'll throw my contact information in the chat here because I know there's a lot of new faces, but I've been working with Zarella, getting her up to speed and kind of working on kind of projects in the back end. But I'm happy to answer questions anyone has about Bureau of Reclamation work in the county. So thanks.
Awesome.
I got a comment.
Thank you, and super happy with the report and being able to make it, Chris.
I have, other than Diamond Springs, Patterson Ranch Fire Safe Council, it's on the Martinez Creek watershed. There's remainder parcels that were purchased for the Nashville Dam that continues to be in the ownership of the Bureau of Reclamation. At first, I thought it was the Bureau of Land Management, but as I turned out, it was BOR. What about these parcels being fuel taken care of in terms of their heavy fuel load? Is there any opportunity for me by application or by some type of request to be able to have someone come in through my parcel? I would give them access directly into these remainder Bureau of Reclamation projects. Parcels, excuse me.
And I apologize, I didn't know exactly the location that you were describing at first.
Location is on Martinez Creek watershed. That's the North Fork of the Cosumnes.
Okay.
This is south of Diamond Springs, and these parcels are parcels that were purchased for that Nashville Dam that never happened.
Sure. Okay. No, appreciate that. Yeah, we have processes in place to allow authorizations to do work. We don't currently have an active project identified in that area. That is a location that we have been exploring project work. 'Cause I understand there is pretty significant urban interface to those lands. But Zarella and I'd be happy to talk with you more about exploring a project, discussing possibilities, what to do there. So I'll email in the chat and we can go from there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Any other questions? Did I hear the question? Sorry. Well, lost the
Actually, I have a question, and it's maybe for Chris. This is Lester from Oak Hill Area Fire Safe Council. And if that communication takes place regarding Martinez Creek, please keep us involved also.
Also, Paul Pence here, and he had commented also on respect to the same issue that I just brought up. So there are a few people that have an interest in this subject. Yes, thank you.
well, and also you all indicated in the CWPP working groups that was a high priority, and so it's definitely, if anything goes on there, I mean, any discussion, we want to make sure you're all part of that.
And I thank you, Ken, for that comment. I guess it's sometimes we don't get a representative from the Bureau of Reclamation. We are having this person today, so I just wanted to take advantage of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, very good. Moving on, program reports, grants and funding, Amber.
No, okay. Let's see, the very first thing to let you know is I still don't have any word on the outreach and education grant from California Fire Safe Council. I'm very sorry about that. It's still stuck with the Forest Service because they're the funder of the California Fire Safe Council. So I'm being told by the California Fire Safe Council that they're on it, but it's stuck with the Forest Service. So I apologize for that. That's where that's at. Since the last meeting, just a few things have happened. I don't think Janet mentioned this. We're still waiting to find out if we got an extension on one of our Stevens Authority grants. That's for the chipping program. That's about $300,000 for the chipping that we haven't been able to spend because we were sending out other grants for chipping. So we're hoping that that extension will happen, but again, it's stuck in the Forest Service. So they're apparently very short-staffed administratively right now, and probably for the foreseeable future. Since the last meeting, we had, I think I mentioned this before, we were working with, so far the South Fork American River Cohesive Strategy as their fiscal sponsor to apply for a $25,000 grant that would fund the SOFAR facilitator expenses, but that grant was declined. Yeah. We had applied for a grant from the California Fire Foundation to fund the assessor program. That was around $25,000 we asked for that. That was also not funded. Everything else that that I mentioned before is still in process. CAL FIRE, Patrick McDaniel, which is our grants or program officer at CAL FIRE, requested to do a site visit of some of our defensible space projects that CAL FIRE is funding. So Jessica put together a great tour with 5 properties. So I think it was last week. Jessica and I went with Patrick to go out and look at all the recently completed defensible space projects in the little bit South County area. Which was actually super interesting. So it's kind of amazing, some of these properties. We saw the before and after, and it was clear that the program really makes a huge difference when you look at the before photos and then kind of what the contractors do when they come in. It's pretty amazing. So it was nice to be able to see what a big difference the defensible space program makes for some of these people. And then he also wants to do a site visit of the hazardous tree program. So we'll set that up in the next couple months, go out and look at properties where people have had hazardous trees removed. As Mike Webb mentioned, we collaborated with PG&E on the Department of Energy grant. So our portion of that $20 million grant is $1 million. That would be over 2 years for all of our defensible space programs. So it would be money for the defensible space assistance program, money for our chipping program, and money for the hazardous tree program. The kind of catch of this is that the money will need to be spent in their project area, which is the Pollock Pines Camino area. So we also put some money in the budget to do outreach and kind of mailings, publicity in that area to really encourage people to sign up for the programs that live in the project area. So hopefully we'll get that. And then some upcoming proposals. Some of you may have heard or seen a notification that Sierra Nevada Conservancy's Wildfire and Forest Resilience Grant Program is open, and their statement of interest due September 30th. I know a few people have reached out about it. We will not be applying for that program because it kind of has kind of the same poison pill as the one that I had mentioned before. Property owners would need to give right of entry agreements that last 25 years. And they would also they wouldn't be able to use their property for any kind of security or collateral. It's a totally weird thing. So it's basically a grant program that does not work for private property. Yeah. So anyway, just putting that out there, I know people probably have seen something about that, but it's not a grant or funding opportunity that's appropriate for any private property, which is where our projects tend to be. I'm sure we'll be talking about it at the project coordination working group tomorrow because it is appropriate for government-owned properties. So there may be some of our partners like the Forest Service or EID or other entities that would make more sense for them to apply for that. So it doesn't mean we won't be getting work done in El Dorado County, it just won't be by us. And then there's another opportunity coming up. It's called AIM Cocoa. It'll probably be due in late October. We're discussing kind of what makes sense for that. It's a capacity building grant. Last year we applied for money for the executive coordinator position, and then it wasn't that we didn't get it, it's that that's funded through the Forest Service, and so they suspended the grant program. So it's a little weird that they're reopening it, and with no information about this grant we had sitting there before. But anyway, we're looking at maybe what might make sense to ask for capacity building, and there's lots of ideas on the table. So if you have something that you would, want to mention to me that you think would be good for El Dorado County Fire Safe Council in terms of capacity building, I'm all ears. It'd be great to hear your thoughts. There's a question about what is capacity building. So it's a pretty open question. So we had, they want to see that whatever they're funding is building your capacity to do more than you're doing now. So that's why we had applied for the executive coordinator before. Maybe we apply for this, accounting assistance. There's a lot of different ideas, but and there can be a fuel reduction component, but it can't just be acres on the ground. It needs to show how this fuel reduction project increases your capacity to do more than you're doing now. So that's, yeah. And the grants, I think, are 75,000, 10 to 75,000. So it's not a ton of money, but it's not nothing. So we'll be looking at that for the next time. I think that's all I have for now. Any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Cameron, good morning. This may not be appropriately down your lane, but we're talking about money. So I thought I'd come up and just address a few things on behalf of our illustrious chairman. At the Rancho del Sol Fire Safe Council, we do try to plan ahead a little bit. So a question about whether or not there is any green waste funding for doing a fall event. So it would be arguably the other side of the federal budget cutoff. So I don't know if there's any Title III money or any of that kind of stuff still available to us.
So we are working on a Title III proposal to bring to the board at the next meeting. But it would not be Title III money that would be available before the end of the year. It would be starting January 1st. So yeah.
Okay, so next year.
That would be starting January 1st. So we'll be bringing that to the board at the next meeting to discuss. But just in a nutshell, would be an amount of money that every fire safe council will be able to have to spend on whatever they want that fits into Title III guidelines. So it wouldn't be, it could be used for Green Waste Days, but wouldn't be restricted to Green Waste Days. It would be a lot more flexible funding, just would need to fit into Title III guidelines.
That's good for the future, but.
But yeah, but it wouldn't be until, I think the Title III money for this year has been already allocated to all the Green Waste Days.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Tamara, it's you. Hey, any of this money you think I should know? Yeah, you should have known, right? Okay. Hey, is any of this money you think might be available for training, for our training group, to add some money to that to improve our training program?
You mean the Title III money?
No, the other you're talking about.
The capacity.
Yeah, actually, that is one of the things we were kind of looking at. Would it make sense to expand our capacity for the assessments? Potentially, yeah. Mhm.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm gonna get with Olivia, we'll chat about that, and I think there's some things we might be able to get to, to expand what we've already got.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Thanks, Tim. Lots happening there. All right, next up, assistance programs, Jessica.
I need a microphone, right?
Yeah.
I can. Okay. I'm gonna take this too. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Oh. Okay, that does not want to fit. All right. I've got a couple announcements, but first I'm gonna read the assistance programs year-to-date report of the hit numbers from each program. So for our chipping program, we have completed 659 jobs. We've cleared 1,143 acres. We've chipped 110,400 cubic yards, and we've spent $312,462.49. For defensible space, we have evaluated 460 new parcels. We've cleared 423. The average cost per parcel is $1,313.45. And we've spent $595,710.85. Out of the 423 parcels that we've cleared, 104 of them were veterans, 385 of them were seniors, 101 of them were low income, and 119 were disabled. For hazardous tree, we have assessed 181 new parcels. We have completed 121 parcels. We've identified 541 new trees. We've cut 418 trees. The average cost per tree is averaging $383.25. And we've spent $248,123. This month, we are anticipating to launch requests for proposals for new contractors for our defensible space program and our chipping program. They're going to be 3-year contracts. So I have been accumulating email contact list over the past year. If you guys have any contractors that may be interested, please just email me at my grant admin email and I'll add them to our distro. That's going to be September 29th of this month is our anticipated launch date, and they'll have 4 weeks to submit their bid proposals for us to review with the selection committee selected by the executive board. Other than that, the second week of October, around October 10th, I'm going to be creating all the Firewise reports. That contains all the funds expended in all 3 of our programs, separated by zip code. So if you're interested in having a Firewise report, I'll have those ready by October 10th. Any questions?
Related to hazardous trees, this average tree cost of $383.25 seems to be extremely low, comparatively low from what a person might hire a tree company to come in and they it's somewhere around $1,500 or more. So when you say $383.25 for your average tree, what is that average tree? What is the dimension, height? You must have that statistical information, right? Or not?
I could look it up if you wanted me to, but it would be a lot of work. Basically, what it's generated off of, it's the way the packages are created. Mason Bruce and Jar, our management team, puts together a bid package of, 50 to 100 trees, bids them out to contractors.
Okay.
Those contractors are making a flat rate bid on what they could complete those jobs on. So then whatever they spend on cutting X amount of trees, it's divided by that. So it changes depending on what was bid on these packages.
What you just said is really the answer to the question, because volume gets you the lower price. Essentially, if we went and bought just a single tree as an individual, certainly that's just one tree. So mobilization, getting out there, crews, and taking it down, and then we're doing what they do with the debris, that's gonna be a lot higher from a one tree perspective, correct?
It's been proving to be beneficial to the contractor that if they have multiple trees on one parcel, they will bid a lower rate.
Any other questions?
I got one piece to add to that, Chris. My experience with the people who have applied for that program, they have to come out of pocket themselves as a shared cost. I don't believe that's calculated in your number. So if we say $383 a tree, then you gotta go back and look at what did the resident have to come out of pocket to get the contractor to come and finish the job? So that's a little bit of a skew to that.
Yes, that is correct, because sometimes some of the residents will also pay out of pocket to have non-hazardous trees removed. So it becomes a bit more difficult to calculate the actual amount.
Yeah.
Chuck Schnell from Camino, just a comment on that. The per tree figure is, obviously what you've been saying, however, it's only, it's much less than, doesn't add up the 418 trees times 383, so about $160,000 or something, much less than the total. But obviously, the assessment, the identification of the trees is what costs separately. So the actual cost per tree in terms of getting them identified and cutting is somewhat higher.
Yeah, I don't calculate the assessment cost in that amount. So the average cost per tree is what it's costing the EDCFSC just to have the tree cut, not assessed.
Thank you. Thank you, Jessica, for good information, and thank you for your work on that. Okay, next up, training committee, Elizabeth.
So, okay. We've been doing some work behind the scenes and, obviously everybody, all the, AFFCs have been doing some work out there. We're getting a lot of assessments in to Carrie in the office. So thank you for doing all that work and getting the information to Carrie, as you do your assessments. As was mentioned earlier, there was a meeting down in El Dorado Hills, around some issues, and we issued a guidance flyer documents, maybe I don't remember what it was, but some notes to kind of summarize that meeting and to hopefully make that information more understandable to folks. And that went out to all the assessors. If you have questions on that, reach back out to me. Also, we just had a meeting this morning and we're gonna be issuing another kind of guidance thing on how to use NA, when you're doing the assessment forms, NA is an option for some items, and we wanted clarity on that. So we're going to be issuing something on that. I have been doing some spot checking on assessments as they come in and trying to identify issues of inconsistencies so that we can kind of help get everybody going in the same direction. So our the information we're generating to our homeowners, and then if you're sending in the forms to CAL FIRE to make sure we have consistency on those things. That's kind of what we're working on now. We're still waiting on the state to finalize Zone 0 regulations. If that ever happens, we will bring the information to you. So maybe in a brown bag or something later on this year, but the state is grinding along through their process. So anyway, but we all know nothing must build Zone 0 is the best bet. Any questions?
I have questions. For recognition and congratulations to Elizabeth. Hugh is passing the chair position for the training committee over to Elizabeth, has just been now recognized and voted in as the official chair for the training committee. So thank you very much, Elizabeth, for taking that.
Yeah, and I did, with you putting that together and Elizabeth now taking the helm, this has been a work in progress. The group is leading the way, not only for El Dorado County, but for the state. We are really on the cutting edge, and with that comes we're learning. And so that everything you just heard from Elizabeth, it's all normal, but as we go forward and learn these pieces, and it's just a huge appreciation to their leadership and also every one of the assessors who are working through this. And we're not one size fits all county. There are nuances between El Dorado Hills, Shingle Springs, Pollock Pines, Auburn Lake Trail, Somerset, Grizzly Flat. So as we try to so as we work through this, trying to figure out how do we work and make sure our assessment form the nuances associated with doing assessments in different places, but yet not losing the foundation of that. And I know there's been lots of discussion. Kudos to all the councils that have been engaged in kind of working through that process with that team. So again, thank you. It was good. Education and outreach, and education. I want to say that.
On that vein, I know at the end of each meeting, we have the fire safety councils have an opportunity to say their accomplishments, but there's so much that's going on, and we're not hearing from all councils. We thought what we'd like to do is I'll be putting out an email asking for each council to look and think, what are your top 2 priorities or accomplishments that you did that you're really proud of? And that we wanted to be able to collect that information and put it out so that we can see county-wise what's going on. Part of it is for recognition, and some of it may be to give fire safety council some ideas of, hadn't thought about doing that kind of a project. So you will be receiving an email asking for your top 2 accomplishments that you're most proud of. Okay, there's a ton of accomplishments going on. The top 2 that might be, even up in Strawberry, yes, all the way out. And even in Strawberry, especially in Strawberry.
They're from Strawberry.
That's scary. Say end of report.
No, she said the one here.
The other thing is we also will be putting out a outreach and education working group, which is our fire safety council county-wise title. We're going to be putting out a survey to fire safety councils and asking for information that, what's working, what isn't working, how do we continue to help support each other so that we aren't taken over by Big Brother or somebody is pointing down, that we're supporting each other in all areas. So that's forthcoming. The other thing is I know that all fire safety councils are, we hold our events, whether it be a green waste or maybe a social, etc. But there's also the countywide events. And what we're realizing is thanks to the public outreach working group, which is spearheaded by Tanya and the Howalker group with multiple agencies at the table. She's collected and put down the bigger events that are county-wise monthly, calendar-wise. And when you look at the calendar, the events come March to November. Okay, and so we're starting to look at how can we push out the information regarding the County Fire Safe Council and our programs and attend all these programs, countywide events, knowing that each fire safe council has their own event. So we're looking to group fire safe councils within areas in north, south, east, and west much of what will fall right in line with when we're looking at grants and working together with that. But to say which events, maybe if it's over in the North County, these are the fire safe councils that we will let you know to help work towards manning that event to be able to support information that affects us all county-wise. Okay, so I'll be putting out information regarding that. The two big events that we have are obviously, now we're taking on the Home and Garden Show, which is a multiple day event. And then the fair, which is multiple day event. And that's where we don't want to burn out any certain set of volunteers. And that's kind of what's been happening, the Jordan Falls. And so now we're trying to spread the love and the wealth between the entire county, from up in Strawberry all the way to El Dorado Hills, South County to North. So more information will be coming regarding countywide fire safe councils and which councils will be, which events they'll be looking at to man, and getting that information out well in advance so that there's no surprises along the way. Are there any questions regarding that? Yes, no question. Okay, thank you. End of report.
I'm saying it was.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. We have Brandon, Brandon.
Right. Question.
Alice, your hand is up.
Yes, Dorothy, I had a question. Has there been any effort to try to strategize as to where the best place is to put volunteer time? So even though all these events occur throughout the county, whether it's effective use of our time to go to them might be another open question. I totally get it for the fair and for the Home and Garden Show, but I really question whether we want to be necessarily trying to put lots of volunteers into these other events when there might be other ways that their time is better used.
Alice, thank you for bringing that up, and your thoughts have been noodling through my head as being the chair for that committee constantly, because the bottom line is, as you bring forward, is it the best use of volunteer time, and how do we not burn out our volunteers that we have? How do we go about recruiting volunteers? And so again, it's work in progress. Part of that will be, Alice, we're looking at the events for this coming year, the 2026 year, and then at the end or as the year goes on, anytime we go to any event, we need to do autopsy of what worked, what didn't work. Is it something to continue in the future? Okay, so thank you for bringing that up, because that really is the bottom line question, is how do we make sure that we're getting the information out, but we're supportive and keeping in mind our volunteers, because you're the grassroots of what's going on, not just at the county level. Yes, Cameron's got a question.
Well, it was more just a thought around that to kind of add on to it, because we, up on the divide, we're kind of in our own little world up there. And so we do booths at like events that are already happening for the most part. And same thing, like we try to decide what is it worth it to continue to do that. And so we're trying to come up with like metrics for that. Like, do we get any assessment signups? Do people sign up for our email list? Like what are kind of more objective ways to measure if it's actually working or not. So that might be a way to think about it for other events too.
Really good point. And on top of that, not only those questions, but we're also looking at how many people knew about the free programs that we have available. Do they know how to access that information? Do they have any other questions, let alone the home assessment programs and the fire safe house? Some of them don't even know that they're in Firewise communities. So, all those sorts of components that just go along with one event. It's not just about handing out a flyer, but it's really for us to making sure that our voices are being heard and that we do the best that we can in the recruitment process also. Any other information? Okay, thank you. End of report. Thank you.
Right now, here at the community council, have opportunity for all council to share what's going on, in your area. I see we have Strawberry. Ready to go. You just pull it towards the microphone, pull the switch towards the top of the microphone.
Is it on?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, good. Make this brief. I don't know why we don't leave these things on. Why do we keep?
I don't know.
Anyway, what I just want to report out on is, this year at Strawberry, as far as green waste removal, over about 4 or 5 weeks' time, we were able to, with a combination of some trailers and some dumpsters, we got rid of about 21,000 pounds, 10.5 tons of green waste. And this was the third of the last 4 years, and it gets better and smoother every year. And I think it's because of a culture that gets built within the community by the leadership of the council, the response from the homeowners, and then the demonstrated behavior that happens. So in 5 weeks' time, we got that out. And I do want to acknowledge, because when we started this off a couple of years ago, had a real rough time with South Tahoe Refuge, a lot of complaints. And since that time, we have built a solid relationship with the owner and with the company. And the service and the cooperation and the planning that we received was outstanding. And so was their very generous donation to our cause. And so with that, I want to acknowledge John D. Marchini of South Tahoe Refuge. And then what I also want to do is thank the El Dorado County Fire Safety Council for these green waste and chipping grants, because without them, we would not even be having this discussion today. And so with that said, the end result or outcome that we're seeing up in Strawberry is that our folks have become actually interested in cleaning their properties instead of cabins that are seasonally used, if that, and properties that look like you're 10 miles out in the forest. The place is really cleaned up to the point that even the homeowners are commenting amongst themselves about how much better it looks, and the number of parcels have really shrunk down to a handful. And so I want to thank El Dorado County Fire Safety Council for green waste and chipping grants, and I want to encourage you to keep those coming.
Bernie.
Ernie Flory, Grizzly Cloud Fire State Council. Once I have something to announce. September 27th, we have a community cleanup day, which will be, got several dumpsters available for green waste and defensible space trash. In other words, we're trying to clean up the surface area as well. This is primarily supported by Leone Meadows Camp and El Dorado Disposal. So we greatly appreciate those two companies and organizations helping us clean up.
Let's do this on, and then we'll go to Nick.
So just a few things. I guess it's on. Just a few things to report. We had our ice cream social that was put on by the HOA, so we set up a booth. And just a quick comment and a thank you to my mentor, Les. I learned that you need one. Sierra Springs, thank you. I'm sorry. Not a celebrity yet. I learned from Les, just by watching him, you just need one quick catchphrase. And what he said to everyone who, just stopped for a second to look at the table, are you on raid? And it was just a quick, just a starting point. And I thought that was really clever. And after that, he got the folks into other discussions. So I thought that was really clever.
Good job.
And the next thing is our HOA has okayed us paying for our next Green Waste Day, which is November 8th. And we're only going to have 2 dumpsters, but that's fine. And then, a couple other things, just as a general, kind of a update is that what is really a hot topic in at least our HOA is the new, AB 130 or 103, AB 130. And then everyone's up in arms about how an HOA can institute, let's say, corrective measures. And so one of the biggest discussions is, can we define a lack of work on a property for instance, defensible space as a recurring infraction? And so, as far as I know, our HOA is consulting with lawyers, and so there is no set answer to that. But I just wanted to let you know that might be something you hear a lot of chatter about. And then one last thing, I just heard on the radio, and so that may be something that OWOPR might want to keep an eye on. Is one of the things that's absolutely exploding on social media are AI generated videos and disinformation. And I've seen some of that, not malicious, but just people looking for clicks, talking about fires here and there. So I think besides positive outreach through social media, I think we should all kind of keep an eye on disinformation. And a lot of that comes up in, what used to be Twitter, now it's X. And a lot of people will tag the name of the fire just to get looks and clicks. And so I just think we should all be aware of it. Thanks.
And before you step down, so a perfect segue, name of the fire. So when we were having our meeting last month, we talked about where we were at with fire season, and in good fun, son, we just want to rip you a little bit because you did make a comment that fire season was, and I swear it wasn't more than 2 hours. He just wanted to rip you, but.
I'll learn to stay in my lane.
Great stuff, thank you. Yes, the AI, the whole world of social media is crazy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Mike, what am I trick?
Try deleted message.
Yeah, I'm Mike Connolly with Auburn Lake Trails Fire Safety Council. Tomorrow night, we're gonna have a kickoff meeting for the, what we call the Northern Shaded Fuel Break, project that we got a $1.35 million award from CAL FIRE to, develop a shaded fuel break between Auburn Lake Trails and the Auburn State Recreation Area. So it's an area that we have identified as, high risk. And on September 2nd, a fire broke out within the Auburn State Recreation Area, just right down from our planned shaded fuel break. And so we're anticipating that we'll have a lot of attendance because there was a lot of interest in this fire that broke out on September 2nd. So also we have completed our defensible space evaluations on the 1,315 parcels within the Fire Safe Council. We currently have 6 that are non-compliant that we're working with to try to get them to be compliant. And we've done 539 shipping operations. I just wanted to comment on Supervisor Parlin had made a comment to and from at the Board of Supervisors meeting yesterday. And it was about Auburn Lake Trails and how she gave kudos to your efforts, fire safety, and also commented on this fire, which you had told me because of the type of fire, it was hard to find. And but she said that you guys are doing, or these are my words, but remarkable job. So I just wanted to comment on her kudos to you. Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
No, they're well-deserved comments, Mike.
Yeah.
You guys are doing amazing stuff. Right, you mentioned others. Sorry, Keys. Who will you introduce yourself and which council you represent?
Hi, my name's Gary Shelterman. I'm with Cold Ridge Forest. Just joined up 2 months ago as a new treasurer.
Welcome.
Thank you. So this is my first meeting. Got a lot of notes. Couple of things for us. Just want to let you know, we had 2 more of our green belts up there cleared out this last month. So we're still going forward on keeping the vegetation low. Secondly, Saturdays are green waste chipping. We have a chipper up there and everything. So from 9 to 1 this Saturday, any Cold Ridge Forest members can come and we'll take care of the green waste for them. Another quick thing, real quick, Janet, that you mentioned earlier. I just retired from Umpqua Bank in March, and you mentioned the Columbia Bank. One other thing is when you do order new checks, they are going to come across with the new routing number, which is Columbia's routing number. Not Umpqua's. Does not change anything. The Umpqua number, the 205-054, 108-205-254 number. Yeah, but anyway, that does not go away. That will be
memorize.
So
You
if
guys
have
don't
a lot
have
of
yours
checks, if you don't order them for 10 years, it doesn't matter, they're still good. But don't be surprised if you do get new checks and all of a sudden your routing number differs. But like I said, the other one still does stay active and is honored. Just so I wanted to let people know that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. You're welcome.
Rick.
Quick, go back to something.
I just want to make sure I thank RCD and all the hard work they're doing. The project that is continuing in our area, looking real good. It's nice to look up from Stark Strait and actually see the ridge.
Thank you.
So Tamara Johnston, Georgetown Divide Fire Safe Council. We're a really large fire safe council geographically, so we're trying to push smaller areas to become fire-wise as a way to kind of break down the area into smaller units. So I just wanted to thank Tanya and the support from OWOPR. We held 2 Firewise workshops at the Georgetown Library, and Tanya presented there to get people who are interested in becoming Firewise to come and learn how to do it. We also had a person from our workshop last year who started a Firewise community in his neighborhood, so he presented kind of how, from his perspective as somebody who did it, just how easy it was. So that was actually really helpful for people to hear from somebody who had just gone through the process. But anyway, I want to thank Tanya and OWOPR's support, and we're hopeful that we can start filling in our map with Firewise communities as well.
Others.
David. So, David, I ended up being the Grand Marshal for the Hangtown Christmas Parade. But I'm hoping that, I'm supposed to not be Santa. So, try to order it, you're not Santa. So, anyway, I'm hoping to get the Fashel Fire Safe Council to walk the banner and get a whole bunch of emblems on it. We get some publicity. If I can't get 4 to 6 volunteers, I might come back to this group and see if I know. Yeah, Strawberry, I'm sure will show up. All right, thank you.
All right. Last up for public comment, anything not already covered under the Fire Safe Council table? Chris.
As I've used this time before, usually it's community information. When I was talking earlier about the question of development projects, I was referring to SB 35. I couldn't remember it at the time. This is a ministerial, not discretionary state law, and you must have objective zoning and design standards in place in order for that to be a consideration. Otherwise, the projects are open, they can go anywhere. This is multifamily mixed use, so we're talking high density. And when I mean everywhere, I'm not literally, it's figuratively and literally saying anywhere. The other thing is there's what's called accessory dwelling units, and I got a call the other day about my experience with accessory dwelling units. They're detached, attached, and junior accessory dwelling units, and those are again, any neighborhood that has property that meets the criteria can have additional dwelling units be added, so that essentially the density goes up in the neighborhood. So I wanted to pass that on also to you. Also related to the Board of Supervisors, there's been discussion most recently about fire safety, and it comes to the question of these two topics that I just brought up. Fire, high and very high fire severity zones, and the fire marshals for those respective fire protection districts do have a say in this matter related to these topics. Even though it's ministerial, there is actions that can be taken, conditions can be applied by these respective fire marshals. And I was going to talk to Hugh later after the meeting about that topic of fire marshals and their authority. But anyway, just wanted to pass that on to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Paul.
Just at next month's brown bag, I've been asked to review the strategic plan. We talk about annual review of our goals and objectives. So that will be on the agenda. I look forward to everyone participating. And if you have thoughts and comments and would like to discuss it beforehand, please reach out to me.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Chris, you want to go back? You didn't.
Yeah, I forgot that.
Go ahead.
So save the graves. Why would I promote this? It's because it's going to be at the Placerville Union Cemetery on B Street in Placerville. So I want to get David there. And the topic.
Need to clarify. Yeah.
I just want him to be aware because the reason why this is important and why I'm promoting it for this time period is Saturday, October the 18th, 10 to 4 at the Placerville Union Cemetery. But the theme this year is women of character. Women of character. And what this is each of the grave sites, there'll be about 8 to 10 individuals, and it's a form of theater because they become that person and they dress up as that person. And they typically do 20 minutes to 25 minutes. And so that's the reason why, thank you, Ken, for allowing me the extra time. So please come. They're looking for people to participate in terms of attendance. And thank you very much.
You're welcome, and I can't believe I'm saying this, Chris, but don't ever change.
Should I show that sign to the camera real quick? Okay, I can.
So that will be an agenda that will be our journey. 30, so plan on that being at 10. And for those online, we will take a brief pause and then dial back in or sign back into the same Zoom link. And it will be recorded in a separate link and put on the website after the meeting. So with that, our next board meeting is October 15th. So plan on that, and with that, meeting is adjourned. Oh,
I have one thing to go to the order, if that's okay.
oh, okay.
A little bit.
No,
Okay.
no, it's just a short thing. I want to thank all of you when you get up and speak now, that you're getting used to getting up to the microphone there. I really appreciate that. And as you know, we program the camera and I do get calls from a few people between the meetings once in a while that say they really enjoy the fact that it's better, they can see. So thank you so much for doing that. I know it's a little bit awkward, but the fact that you're doing it, I think makes the meeting much better. Thank you.
I think good job.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And I know it's tough to be the microphone police, but it is working very well. All right, with that, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.